Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this video we're going to create the laser weapon. And you see it's consists of a couple parts here. You got the laser here, but it also has the little laser indicator on the side that tells you how much laser power you've got. And the way this is set up is that once you run out of laser power, then you could just go back to shooting regular bullets. See? Okay. Alright, to make this happen, we're going to do things quite a bit different than what we've done before. First of all, we don't need to create a sprite or anything. This is all drawn. We will need to create a sprite for an explosion near the end here, but as for right now, everything we're doing here just is going to be actually drawn by the program. So the first thing we're going to do is in the object ship here, we're going to set a variable in the create event. And again, since our laser is set up so that it's got like a battery power, it's only got a certain amount of power, we're going to just set a variable that will control how much power it has. Now, since we're going to be using a health bar, and health bars are based on 100% system or 100-point system, we're going to set it fully charged here. So I'm going to create a variable called laser charge, and again, it's kind of a long name, but if you want to choose something different, that's fine, but just remember what you've used. So I'm going to go laser charge equals 100% or 100, so it's fully charged. Okay, so this is where we veer off quite a bit here. Instead of using a key press, instead of having this happen when we press the space bar, it will happen when we press the space bar. We're going to do it a little bit different. We're not going to be programming it in the key press space here. We're going to be pressing it in what's called a draw event, which we've used for. We have not used that in this game yet, but we're going to use a draw event to do this. So you go add event, draw, draw. Okay, and what this is going to do is we're going to detect what keyboard key has been hit, and then use that to tell it to fire a laser if the right conditions are met. So I'm just going to call this fire laser. Okay. And first thing we want to do is we only want this thing to fire if the space bar is being held down, and if the laser charge is greater than 0. Okay, so that's what we're going to say here. If, and then this is how we check to see if the keyboard is down. Now this is not, you don't have to keep pressing it like you did with to fire the bullets. This just, if it checks every step, if that key is down, then it's going to do this. This is the code here. If keyboard check VK space. If I had put keyboard checked and then underscore pressed, it would only happen every time. It would happen once every time I hit the keyboard. And we want to make it sure that laser charge, and again, spell it how you did in the create event, is greater than 0. So if those two things are true, then it will start running these next things. And again, because this is going to be a lot of code here, so I'm going to set my brackets up right now and put some space here between it so that when I start typing, it is going to be where I need it to be here. Okay, so now I'm going to give you a quick demonstration of what's really going to happen here. And when you see this, this is going to be happening every step of the game here. So let me do this little presentation here. Here's a representation of our game. You see it's very simplified. I've got an asteroid here that's not moving here. It's just so it's easy to test here. So I've got my ship that turns, and what happens is when I hit the space bar, it's going to reach out. Then again, what I'm showing you here is going to all happen in one step. It's going to reach out, checking every 4 pixels in front of it until it gets to something or the outside of the room. So here I hit it, and you'll see it goes fast for a little bit here, and then you see right now, see what it's doing is it's stopping at each one of these points and checking to see if anything's there. Okay, and it'll go slow here for a second, then it'll speed up here. So you see these numbers are increasing a little bit. The distance is increasing by 4 every time there. Now again, this is all happening in one step. Now you see, oh, he missed. But you'll see what'll happen is once this gets off there, bam, it shoots a laser. And that all happens in one step, 60 times a second. Let me turn my ship just a little bit, see if I can get it this time. And you see what happens here. See, again, it does the same thing. This is increasing by 4 pixels. That's the distance from our ship. And you see it goes 4, up 4, up 4, up 4. And it's going to speed up here in a second so you can see the remainder. Let's see if I got any good targeting skills this time. Oh, I'm going to miss it again. Yep, miss it again. Alright, here we go. Let's try it again. Alright, let's try it again. One more time. Am I going to go off the other side this time? Oh, yep, going to miss it. Okay, third time is the charm. Okay, there we go. There we go. Now you see again, it's going up by 4. And again, this is all happening in one single step. And so it'll look seamless, and you just see it'll look like a constant beam striking that asteroid. But you see, when it gets near it, see it's still increasing by 4. And again, it's just checking. When it hits it, it makes a laser, makes an explosion. So that's what we're doing here. All right, so the first thing we got to do is we are going to reduce our laser by a certain amount, our laser charge by a certain amount every step here. So we're going to reduce it, so minus equals, and this is where I'm going to put a formula in here that's going to just calculate time. It's going to convert time into something that I can use for the game here. Times 15. Oops. And what this value is this controls how long, if you constantly held down the button, how long your laser would fire. And I've got it set for 15 seconds here. That's what this does. So this laser will fire for 15 seconds. Whatever number you get right there is how long it'll fire. Okay, next step. We're going to create a variable here called target x. Okay, this is the variable that the program is going to be checking. These are the coordinates. Remember I showed you in that thing, in the little demonstration there, that it checks a target x and y value, and that's what this is. This causes it to start those values at the ship. So when it starts checking, these targeting values are at the ship. Now we're gonna set a variable here just to say don't draw the laser yet. Okay. So laser draw equals false. Okay. And then we're going to set a couple other variables here just to control how fast we want to, or what kind of resolution basically we want to check. Equals 4. This is kind of small. You could probably expand that a little bit. What this does is this is the distance between each check. So it'll go out 4 pixels, 4 pixels, 4 pixels until it hits something or goes out of the room. And again, if the game is fast enough, your system's fast enough, 4 is fine. The smaller, the more accurate it will be. If you make it too large, you might actually skip over something that you intend to hit. Now the direction, check DIR. This is just going to be the direction that you're facing. So we're going to go facing here, and we're going to make a change of this later on, because just so it's not so hard to hit something. You can see how hard it was for me to hit that asteroid. It took me 3 tries. Okay, so now this is where we're going to get into the good stuff here. So now we're going to run a loop here. We're going to do what's called a while loop, and what this does is this happens as long as something is true. So we're going to start while laser draw equals false. So as long as laser draw equals false, and actually this should really have 2 equal signs here. Again, in GameMaker it's not required, but in other programming language it is. Okay, now again I'm going to set up my brackets here so that we don't lose brackets here. Alright, so now what we're going to do is and this is not even every step, it's every sequence of this loop, it's going to add it's going to look a little bit further out. Plus equals, and then keeps covering up the length of our x. Okay, so now again, this is where we want to check, or this is where you want to look down here to see what it is I need to be typing now. Now it's looking for a length. This is checking. This is basically extending x out 4 pixels in the direction that it's facing here. So that is what we're going to do. We're going to use check dist for our length, which is what we came up with here, which is basically 4 pixels. And you're going to see this is going to come in real handy. Otherwise, if you want to make a change, you'd have to type this again and again in a bunch of different places. Check dir. Okay, and then I'm going to just copy this and paste it and change this everywhere you see an X, change it to a Y. Make sure that's capital Y there and then a lowercase y there. Okay, so now this changes our X and Y to be 4 pixels further out. Okay, now the next step, this is where it checks. If collision point target, oops, I gotta capitalize it, target X, target Y, and then if it's looking for the object asteroid, and then hold on, I gotta expand this here because there's gonna be more to type here. Then we got a couple other things here that we've got. Notice it's ask for the object, that's what we put there. Then the next step here, it's precise. It wants to check a precise collision. It wants to make sure you were actually touching that asteroid and not within the square that makes up that sprite. So we do want it to be precise, so we're going to go true here. And then not me, that means in this case it really doesn't matter what you put here. You could put true or false, it doesn't matter. But I'm just going to put true because this is basically checking if I was an asteroid, it wouldn't check me. So I could check for another instance of whatever object I am, and it would ignore me. Okay, that's what not me means right there. Okay, so if collision point is that, or now remember we've got an enemy ship here too. So I'm just going to copy this right here and go paste that there. This time instead of the asteroid, it's going to be enemy. But the same two things apply. Okay. But we got a few other things here. We don't want it to just keep checking into infinity. If it misses something and if we don't put this next few lines of code in, our game will freeze because it just keeps going off indefinitely trying to find something to hit. So basically, if our target X is off the left side of the room, -10. I do that because we got an explosion sprite, and if you don't give it a little bit of buffer, you'll see the explosion as it goes. So I'm going to put that, and then target X, or target X again, if it's greater than room width plus 10. So this is 10 pixels off. If the ends up checking 10 pixels off the right side of the room. Okay. I'm going to copy these two lines because my next two lines are going to be very similar. Except I'm just going to be checking Y. So now instead of target X here, I'm going to go Y, Y, and instead of room width here, I'm going to go height. So what this does, this whole thing, and then, okay, now we can start doing what I want to do here. So I'm going to put in my brackets here just so. So now, this seems like a lot here, but the way it's working is it's basically, it's checking these 6 things. So it's saying if the collision point is touching an asteroid, or the collision point is touching an enemy, or your target X is either 10 pixels off the left side of the room, or it's off the right side of the room, which means it's outside of the room, or the target Y is above the room or below the room, then this is when you can start drawing your laser. Okay, so then that allows us, this is where we can draw the laser. So now I can say, okay, now you can draw the laser. Laser draw equals true. Okay. So now what's going to happen, it will stop checking. So as long as laser draw equals false, it keeps looping through this until it finds something or it goes outside of the room. Once it does, it is now true and it will not run this again. It will not run this code. Now it'll drop down, and then I gotta find my, make sure I don't go out of the thing here. So okay, so see, I want to still stay within this one here. So there's, okay, so I gotta go here. See, all of this stuff is part of the while loop. Okay, so I want to go after this now. So now I want to start drawing my laser. Okay, so I'm going to draw set alpha. Oops. Well, I'm in the wrong program here. This is where I want to set the transparency of my line. Set alpha. Apologize for this thing keep getting in the way here. Draw set alpha. And then I want it to I want it to be fully visible. Okay. And then this is where I can set a color. I'm going to make it yellow so it shows up. Draw set color. We'll go C yellow. And then this is what actually draws the laser. Draw line width, and then now it's asking for its coordinates. We want it to draw it from our ship to our target. So we're going to go X, comma, Y, comma, and then target X, target Y. Oh, I'm sorry, we need more information here. So it's asking for more information. See, it's got a little W at the end there. This is how wide you want the line to be. I'm just going to set it for 1 right now. Okay, and then let's test the game and see what we get. Play the game. Okay, well, what happened to my ship? Well, if I press the, you notice if I press the space bar, I do get a laser, and you see it stops. I see a couple problems here. It's shooting, I'm shooting bullets, and I've got a laser, but I don't see myself. Okay, so we got to deal with those problems here. First problem is we have to draw ourselves. Whenever you use a draw event, by default the computer will draw the sprite, but if you start using a draw event, then it says, okay, well, maybe you don't want to draw your sprite, so you have to tell it now to draw itself. So at the very end, we're going to go draw self, and then open and close parenthesis, and now we should be able to see ourselves. Yep, there we are. And you see our laser, but you see now we're still firing bullets. If we're firing a laser, we don't want to fire a bullet, but you see our laser is working okay here. See, notice how it stops it if it hits a laser. It's not doing anything but to it, but it's still working. But notice how hard it can be to hit something. So we're gonna do a couple things to kind of make this a little bit nicer. First of all, we're gonna get it so that the bullets stop firing when the laser is turned on. So if we go to where we fire the bullet, right here, key press space, click on that, and we're just going to add some code here to make this happen. So basically, if we have a laser charge, we don't want the bullet to fire. So we only want the bullet to fire if laser charge is less than 0. So I'm going to put a little line right there, go down a line, go if laser charge is less than 0, open bracket, and then at the very bottom put another close bracket. And then let's get this dolled up here like it should be. Like that. So now let's check it again, just to make sure that our ships are firing. So this will, it'll only create bullets if laser charge is less than 0. So here we go. So I start firing. See, no more bullets. But let's see how long we can fire. Now notice I can get a couple other things I want to deal with this ship here. Okay, see, now we lost our... Now we're not firing either. Let's test that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay, so I think I was counting a little bit fast. Okay, so now, but I'm not firing any bullets, so we got to figure out what is going on there. Okay, the problem with that is you see how it says if laser charge is less than 0? Laser charge is never going to get less than 0 because it only goes down to 0 and then it stops reducing anymore. So in order to make this work, we got to go, instead of going less than 0, you're going to go less than or equal to 0. Okay. So now we play again. Let's try it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, there we go. We lost it. Okay, now our bullets work. Okay. Okay, now to deal with the issue of targeting, it's kind of, you have to be super precise to use that laser. So what we're gonna do is make it wiggle a little bit as it gets fired, so that you can have a little more leeway in how it fires. Okay, so back to the draw event. Remember here where we talked about setting the direction that laser was going to fire up here. Check DIR. What we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit to that, a little bit of randomness to that, so that it wiggles as it goes. And the way it's placed here, every step it's going to change just slightly. So we're going to go random. Whoops. Random range, and we're going to go a negative number. We're going to go -1 and then 1, and this is going to control the spread of the laser. So if I fire here, you see it's a pretty narrow spread. It goes -1 degree plus 1 degree. So see how I fire now? See how it kind of wiggles? And it gives me a little more range here, especially at long distances. Okay, and again, if I change this number, let's go, I'm going to make it really wild here. I'm going to go 10 and 10. So now it'll fire like 10 degrees in either direction. See? So again, you can set it the way you want. I like kind of the tight angling, but it's just enough to make it so that it will look or be a little bit easier to target. Okay, now the other thing I want to show you is this, to give it a little bit more make it a little bit nicer looking here is notice when you play this, when you fire the laser at certain angles, it looks really like liney, like choppy lines. So, well, with that wiggle in there, you kind of lose it. But to make it look a little more glowy than what it is here, we're going to add another layer of color below it. So if we go down to this part where the laser actually gets drawn right here, we're going to just duplicate this, and we're going to add a little something to it to make it look a little more glowy. So I'm going to take these 3 lines of code right there and copy them, and I'm going to paste in there. So now I've got 2 sets of them here. And what I'm going to do is this, the way GameMaker does is it'll draw colors on top of colors. So the first thing I draw will be one color, and then above it, since above it, it's going to make it a little bit lower, another color here. So I'm going to set this one, I'm going to set the alpha to 0.5, so it's half transparent. And I'm going to set the color to red. Okay, and then I'm going to set the width to 5. This is just kind of its glow here. And then we'll play it. And you see now our laser has a little bit more glow to it, and if we don't get killed here. See? Gives a little bit more glowing effect. And you can play with these colors too. You can do, let's see, let's go with blue and aqua. And the second color should be the brighter color. There you go. See, and you can do, and then what is there? I think there's green and lime. So again, you can play with those colors and you get what you want. I'm going to put it back to red and yellow. Okay. All right. Well, this video has been long enough. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to use the lasers to destroy the asteroids.